Sorry to cut you off. I've been trying to edit the name, and I seem to not.
Go ahead. No problem. No time.
Right.
Go ahead. Let's start debate. Start debate.
Okay, so let me quickly tell you guys the rules so you don't make any mistake. When it's time for POIs, I will simply signify by raising my book and it shows POI. When you see this, you just know that it's time for POI. And then I'll also signify when it's time, when you have 1 minute left. That's protected time. When you have 1 minute left, I'll simply do this to show you that you have 1 minute left, so you have to wrap up. And if you exceed your time, your points might be deducted. So you have to be careful. And then there's reply speech, which comes after everyone has made their arguments. Reply speeches, you don't add points, you just summarize everything that everyone on your side has said. So without any further ado, first proposing speaker, your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, so hi table, my colleagues and my audience. I am Ogini Enefibo, the lead speaker from Side Proposition, here to propose the motion, this House regrets over-dependency of African economies on foreign trade. As the lead speaker, the case of argument will also further prove to you all how over-dependency of African economies will lead to would degrade the economic development of such African countries. My first supporting speaker in the same spirit will further witness our team stand on this motion and prove to you how it also demolishes innovation of such African countries. While my second supporting speaker will rebut argument, make my side opposition, summarize our case, and close the case of our argument. But before I proceed my argument, it is really wise and appropriate for us to know and understand some terms in this motion, which are over-dependency and foreign aid. Over-dependency is the act in which someone, something, or country depends or relies heavily on something, while foreign aid refers to the help or assistance to my motion. Issues that affect Africa and the world in general. Over-dependency on Africa has become a perpetual crunch for many African countries, hindering our growth, undermining our sovereignty, and perpetuating a cycle of dependency. Those African countries who depend on foreign aid have the mindset that they cannot move further and depend on their natural resources that they find within them, other than getting those aids and assistance from other countries. Consider this. For every dollar Africans receive in aid, we lose approximately $10 in illicit financial flows, corruption, and unfair trade practices. How can you tell me that over-dependency on African economies on foreign trade will not lead to corruption to those countries? This is because those in government, those in seats, and do not have the mindset to use those aids very well. The very aid we rely on often find its way back to the original donor. How won't you tell me that this will lead to underdevelopment of such African countries? Now, this goes back to the donor countries through tide aid, consultancy fee, and even debt servicing. Moreover, foreign aid creates a culture of dependency. This is because those countries cannot do things without depending on those foreign aid. It also undermines their capacity. They no longer use the natural resources they find within them and around them, other than getting those other aid from those foreign countries. And also, it reduces their self-reliance and innovation. They no longer have the mindset to use their hands, to use what nature gives them to help themselves, but they go on to get foreign aid from other countries. And this decreases. Yes, your PO. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you can see that the person that wanted to ask POI Just want to get my time. Back to my arguments. In these results are economic priorities as government focus on appeasing those donors rather than getting and pleasing domestic needs and basic needs of its citizens. Why won't you tell me that this will reduce economic development of such countries? This is because they cannot use what they find around them. Instead of improving infrastructure, transportation, or going to help the citizens of such countries with the little money they have, they go on to pay back to the original donors that they borrowed from. We must recognize that African development is charity, but an investment opportunity. By spending aid, we can unlock our vast potentials. These African countries do not know that they have potentials within them, but their eyes have been blindfolded with the foreign aid that they get from other countries, and this is negatively affecting them. We can also unlock our vast potential, as I earlier said, mobilize our resources, and chart the path towards sustainable growth and development. If these African countries that depend on foreign aid from these other countries reduce and become dependent on their own natural resources, we will see that their economy will be boosted. In addition, foreign aid can indeed create dependency and undermine economic self-efficiency in various ways. Foreign aid can foster a culture of dependency when recipient countries rely heavily on external assistance instead of relying on what has been given to them, rather than developing their own economy. In 2022, 22.6% of aid was given to African countries. Yes. And these countries, such as Somalia and South Sudan, have been heavily reliant on foreign aid. This has reduced the economic development of such countries. Now, this can lead to lack of investment in other things or other infrastructures and other needs that citizens of such African countries that rely heavily on foreign trade have. They no longer invest into other sectors such as education, agriculture, healthcare, but they have to pay back the debt that they have. This does not help in order to promote economic development. It is estimated to be losing more than 50 billion naira. Audience, I mean 50 billion naira annually in illicit financial outflow. So I urge you to support this motion and let's take the first step towards economic liberation. Let's empower Africa to stand on its own feet, to harness its resources. Thank you all for giving into team proposition. Let the motion stand. Thank you.
You used a total of 6 minutes, 11 seconds. Can we have the next speaker from opposition? Your time starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Chairman, honorable judges, accurate keeper, co-debaters, and members of this house. I am the speaker of the team against the motion that states we regret over-dependency of African economies on foreign aid. The argument is based on 6 solid pillars, in which I, the first speaker, will be defining the key terms and dwelling on 2 points. And the second speaker here will dwell on 3 points. And the third speaker here will conclude with a point and also focus more on the details. Now, let's define our key terms. 1, over-dependency. This means excessive reliance on something for survival, progress, or growth. The second one is foreign aid. This means grants, loans, or technical support given by developed countries or international organizations for economic and social development in developing countries. Well, we, the opposing team, see no reason at all to regret Africa's reliance on foreign aid, because when well managed, aid causes support of growth. It also causes strength for institutions, and aid saves lives. This argument is non-negotiable. It doesn't require too much. So I'll be giving you 2 basics. My first argument is that aid saves lives and builds human capital. Foreign aid funds vaccines that keep our children alive.
Bend down.
The classrooms that educate the next generation. the classroom that educates the next generation, and these hospitals that saves lives. According to World Bank, foreign aid has already financed key education and health programs in Nigeria, from malaria prevention to polio eradication. When these interventions are not seen, or without these interventions, millions of people have died, and also millions of people will have dropped out of school. The World Bank approved 1.8 billion US dollars in Nigerian financing to educate for education and for improvement of institutions, and also 80 billion US dollars also has been put in place for child malnutrition, to treat child malnutrition. Also, 26th of September 2024, the World Bank approves $1.57 billion in operations for Nigeria, and also 500 million US dollars for 500 million US dollars for human capital. Okay, POIs. I meant to ask you. Okay.
Perpetuate a power imbalance between donor and recipient countries, undermining the effectiveness of aid. Please answer this question. Don't you think that the current
please come again? We're not clear.
Don't you think that the current aid architecture perpetuates a power imbalance between donor and recipient countries, undermining the effectiveness of aid?
Okay. Well, as I was saying, so $1.57 billion was put in place for Nigeria's operation and human capital development. I will conclude this point by saying that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with others. This is to say, it is something, this foreign aid is what we call partnership. It is not necessarily dependence, but sustainability. My second argument, aid provides emergency relief during times of crisis. Like I said, this argument is non-negotiable. It doesn't require too much, just few. So Africa faces recurrent floods, drought, and pandemics. When these problems strike, these foreign aid are the ones that brings out relief. They relieve us of this stress. Let me give you the example of the COVID-19. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure you know about the COVID-19 pandemic. During that time, these international bodies supported Nigeria. They supported Nigeria with health education facilities and equipment, testing kits, and also over $200 million for emergency response funding. In times of crisis like this, we do not call dependency. We do not call foreign aid dependency. We call it a life-saving coach and a life-saving solidarity. I hope this answers your question. Does it? The United States Department of State reported that U.S. assistance to Nigeria during the COVID-19 period reached about $41.3 US as part of the global emergency aid, which included funds for health assistance, water and sanitation, risk communication, and vulnerable persons. Well, Mr. Chairman, honorable judges, and members of this House, we have shown that foreign aid is a safety net and not a shackle. It keeps people alive and cushions Africa against unpredictable crises. We do not regret what sustains us. We value it while building our self-reliance. We urge you to reject this motion. Thank you very much.
She used a total of 6 minutes, 26 seconds. Proposition is next. Next speaker from proposition. Your time starts in 2, 1.
All protocols duly observed. I am by name Samuel Negit, the first supporting speaker from side proposition, proposing the motion over dependence of African economies on foreign trade. While foreign trade may provide temporary relief and support, it can also create long-term dependence and undermine local capacities. Instead of relying on foreign aid, African economies should focus on developing their own resources. Relying on foreign aid can create a culture of dependency, where countries become accustomed to capacities and resources. This can undermine local ownership and initiative and limit the potential for sustainable development. According to the OECD in 2020, foreign aid accounted for 13.6% of sub-Saharan Africa's GDP. This high level of aid dependency can create long-term sustainability challenges. In 2005, Malawi implemented a fertilizer subsidy program with significant external funding. While the program had initial success, it proved unsustainable in the long term due to its reliance on foreign aid. My opponent also claims that aid supports humanitarian needs, but I totally disagree with them because it has been fueling corruption. Humanitarian aid can be diverted from its intended purpose through fueling corruption and cronyisms in recipient countries. According to a report by the Overseas Development Institute, humanitarian aid can be vulnerable to diversion and corruption, particularly in contexts where governance is weak or absent. According to a report by Transparency International, 40% of people in need of humanitarian assistance reported experiencing corruption or diversion of aid in their areas.
Would you prefer children die from preventable disease?
You are not audible.
Would you prefer that children die from preventable disease?
You get your answer because
will you prefer children die from preventable disease rather than receive donor-sponsored vaccine?
You get your answer because of my argument. The diversion of humanitarian aid in Yemen has been a significant concern, with aid being siphoned off by armed groups and corrupt officials. This has undermined the effectiveness of humanitarian efforts and exacerbated the humanitarian crisis. While investing in human capital is crucial for development, relying on foreign aid to do so can be ineffective and unsustainable. Foreign aid can create dependency, undermine local institutions, and fail to address the root causes of human capital challenges. The World Bank estimates that Africa loses around $2.17 billion annually due to brain drain, with many skilled professionals immigrating to countries. Ghana has lost many of its skilled healthcare professionals to developed countries, undermining its ability to provide healthcare services. Panel of judges and audience. With this point of mine, I hope you are not confused, but convinced over dependence of African economies on food. Proud to propose. Thank you.
She used a total of 4 minutes, 19 seconds. Can we have the next speaker from opposition? Your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeepers, debaters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Adedrongo Beauty, and I stand to oppose this motion. While Africa must indeed pursue economic self-reliance, foreign aid ensures a crucial lifeline. It supports development, it saves lives, and it lays the groundwork for sustainable growth. Aid, when well managed, it's not a sign of weakness, but it's partnership for growth and a shared humanity. Point one, aid supports key sectors and saves lives. Aid has an essential role in healthcare, education across African countries. To paper, over 20 million Africans have received life-saving HIV treatment since 2003. Without it, millions of Africans would have died. In Ethiopia, the Productive Safety Net Program has protected rural families from famine and also provided employment opportunities. And in education donor funding, it has helped many countries like Ghana to achieve universal primary schooling enrollment. Foreign aid, therefore, is not dependency, it is difference between survival and harassment of Africans. Point two, aid builds institutions and also provides good governance. Foreign aid strengthens the institutions that help nations to have self-sufficiency. Countries like Rwanda reform tax systems, improve their public service delivery, and also enhance accountability. Boston effectively utilized donor assistance to diversify its economic aid. This has helped it to become one of Africa's most stable democracies. Aid is not about giving hands out, but it's about building hands that can work independently. When aid is used responsibly, it promotes governance transparency and also economic resilience. Point three, aid stabilizes economic in times of crisis. In times of war, drought, or disease, has become Africa's strongest safety net. During the 2014 Ebola outbreak in West Africa, international support from WHO has helped to contain the virus and also rebuild. In Somalia 2017, donor fund relief helped famine and government. Without millions would have died and also economy would have collapsed. Aid is therefore not a body, it is an assurance for human survival and also regional stability. These are not stories of weakness. Okay, please, can I have your POI?
Justify
They
the
have
fact.
proved that solidarity saves nations.
Justify the fact that
some crises would have fragile economies.
Okay. Isn't it time for African?
In conclusion, foreign aid has saved lives.
POI. Isn't it time for African countries to take responsibilities for their own development rather than relying on external assistance?
Can I also answer with a question? If aid builds roads, power grid, and reduction system, how exactly does that discourage private sector? I will continue. In conclusion, foreign aid has saved lives, built nations, and created opportunities. It is not a chain that holds us back, but it's a bridge that moves us forward. As former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan wisely said, to those in need, a helping hand is not weakness, it's humanity in action. We, the opposition, do not regret foreign aid. We choose to reform it, manage it, and use it for the benefit of all Africans. Thank you.
You used a total of 4 minutes, 36 seconds. Now, can we have our next speaker from proposition? Your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Standing on the already existing protocol made by my lead speaker, and by name Shira Goodness Ojama, the second supporting speaker from side proposition, proposing the motion. This House regains that over dependency of African countries on foreign aid
As the second supporting speaker, it is my duty to rebut arguments made from side opposition and, if time permits, proceed with some points. My first argument say that aid supports sectors in government, but can they give statistical backings and real-world illustrations how these foreign aids have supported sectors in government? They also talked about accountability. My friend candidate team opposition gives points backing up this accountability and also economic incentive crisis. They only talked about crisis, how this foreign aid has aid crisis. But they talked about while investing in human capital is crucial for developing irrelevant of foreign aid. To do so, can be effective and unsustainable. Foreign aid can create dependency, undermine local institutions, and fail to address the root causes of human capital challenges. This foreign aid has shifted our government face from what is wrong to put it in the right place, thinking that this foreign aid is helping these African countries. But no, according to what my youth speaker said, every donor that this foreign aid has given to all these African countries, we paid times 10 of those donors back. And also, we also found out that in Ghana, their professionals in healthcare have been emigrating to these countries because they don't have quality health centers. So tell me, if this foreign aid has been impacted positively into these countries, so why are they not emigrating from their countries to developed countries? They also claim that it has brought about economic incentive crisis. They were talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. But after the COVID-19 pandemic, did they see the poverty and hunger that was in Nigeria? Even if you notice, when the COVID-19 pandemic came around the world, even the whole world, there was poverty and hunger because people were not able to afford things. And guess what? These humanitarian needs that this foreign aid has been given to us have been shifted and has spread corruption in our country. Let us take Nigeria for example. Let this government now fix all these humanitarian needs into their pockets. Those people that need this humanitarian needs, that values this humanitarian needs, they are not giving. They have been shifted. And later you tell me that this foreign aid has helped the country. No, they have not in any way helped this country. You can find out that solely Ethiopia has a foreign this foreign aid that has helped Ethiopia country. They are doing well. But let me tell you, this Ethiopia foreign has vast amounts of foreign aid in their country. But guess what? They are poor and also have hungered people. Their poverty rate is 58%. So will you tell me that this foreign aid is helping Ethiopia country? Let's look at Ghana deeper. Ghana interviews and research has shown that Ghana health centers has decreased high to the rate of 20%. So that means they don't have up to their professional because their professionals are emigrating to the developed country. These same countries that claim that they are giving us foreign aid. These same countries that they're paying better to other citizens. Let's go to Nigeria. According to an interview and a research found in 2024 in Ofal School in Benin State, found out that students were interviewed, and when students interviewed, they found out that students refused working for their country because their country doesn't have better healthcare or better opportunities for them. They feel that it's better to emigrate and go to other countries, developed countries, and work for them with higher paying jobs. My first argument also claimed that it has supported humanitarian, but I totally disagree with them because it has been fueling corruption. According to a report by the Overseas Development Institute, ODI, found that humanitarian deeds can be vulnerable to diversion and corruption, particularly in contexts where governance is weak or absent. According to a report by Transparency International, 40% of people in need of humanitarian assistance reported experiencing corruption or diversion of aid in their area. The diversion of humanitarian aid in Yemen has been significantly concerned, with aid being siphoned off by armed groups and exacerbated the human crisis. We could find that the illicit financial outflow from African countries is over $50 billion. Panel of judges, this is $50 billion. Then how will you tell me that these countries will grow when they are losing over $50 billion annually? And in Nigeria, we find that they are losing over $35 billion annually under the foreign aid, because of this foreign aid has shifted our government side to look what is wrong as right, because of what they are covering up. That they are, even we can take Samaritan Purse as an example. When Samaritan Purse came to Nigeria as for Christian students, but later we could find out that those Samaritan Purse were supposed to be given to over thousands of children, but we later find out that it was only given to 1,000 children. So can you tell us that the foreign aid is helping the government? So with this, and I have been able to talk on the following points: how this foreign aid has fueled corruption and other activities, and with this, we proudly propose. Thanks.
She used a total of 6 minutes, 47 seconds. Can we have the third speaker from opposition, the second supporting speaker? Yeah, next speaker from opposition. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Good day, Mr. Chairman, honorable judges, accurate timekeeper, body opponent, members of this house. My name is John Trejo, and I am standing against the set motion which states that we regret over-dependence of African economies on foreign aid. Today, I am going to be dwelling on the point which states that foreign aid strengthens governance and regional cooperation. Foreign aid supports governance reforms, electoral monitoring, and anti-corruption system. For example, international partners fund civic education, build transparency, improve budget transparency, and train electoral officers. Aid therefore promotes good governance, which is the very foundation for sustainable development and sustainable development. Foreign aid doesn't only build schools or hospitals, it builds systems, which is the very backbone of governance. When aid supports anti-corruption, cross-border collaboration, and election monitoring, it also fosters democracy and strengthens democracy and fosters cooperation that one nation cannot achieve on its own. Statistics show that in 2019 to 2024, the US government anti-corruption program invested over $45 billion in the Nigerian anti-corruption agencies like EFCC and ICPC. This system funding supported tracking devices, whistleblowing mechanisms, and civil society oversight, and also the World Bank's State Fiscal Transparency and Transparency, Accountability, and Sustainability Program provided $1.5 billion to 36 states. The result: over 95% of these states now publish audit reports publicly. And states like Kogi, KADUNA, and Ekiti rank up in fiscal transparency. My opponent mentioned that foreign aid creates dependency. It does not create capacity. Foreign aid equips the nation with resources, tools, and the knowledge to stand on their own feet faster and stronger. Just like the UK's FCDO, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, not funded the Nigerian educational sector support program
training over 60,000 teachers, and improving the education of over 6 million students. These teachers now sustain the education long after the 8th cycle has ended. Dependency is not training 60,000 teachers, it is empowering them to train others. And again, dependency is a risk when the government misuses it, not the fault of foreign aid. My opponent also mentioned that foreign aid corruption. Instead, it prevents, reduces, and controls by transparency tools, oversight system, institutional reform that hold this accountable. In 2018 to 2023, the World Bank State Transparency, Accountability, and Sustainability Program only gave grants to Nigerian states that met transparency benchmarks like publishing of budgets and auditing of reports. Aid that sets conditions for transparency does not fuel corruption, rather it fights it. The existence of corruption before foreign aid is not caused by aid. In fact, aid reveals what was hidden, exposes the weak spot, and pressures these leaders. When a thermometer gives you fever, you do not blame the thermometer. You treat the illness. AIDS show us the fever of corruption so that we can cure it. My opponent also said that students don't want to work in their country anymore due to low healthcare services. But foreign aid provides these opportunities. It is left to the government to sustain it. Honorable Mr. Chairman, honorable judges, accurate timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen, if aid builds schools, hospitals, transparency budgets, and monitor elections, then what exactly do we regret? My opposition painted foreign aid as a cause, but no, it to us and the fact that have been proven it is a catalyst. It has saved lives, built human capital, and strengthened. We are not denying the fact that they are challenging, but the solution as Africans is not to reject receiving foreign aid, but to improve the way we manage the help provided by this foreign aid. Dependency, foreign aid is not dependency, it's development in partnership. It is not a chain, it is not a chain, it is a bridge. Therefore, we, the opposing team, stand firmly on our ground that we do not regret over-dependency of foreign aid on African economy. Thank you.
You used a total of 6 minutes, 24 seconds. Now it's time for our reply speech, which lasts for 2 minutes. And remember, in your reply speech, you're not to add more points, but to summarize what everyone has said. And we are going to start with opposition. So you have to choose whoever you want to make your reply speech in the opposition. So, reply speaker, are you ready? From opposition, are you ready? Your time starts in, okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good day, Chairman. Honorable adjudicators. Good day, Chairman, honorable adjudicators, accurate timekeeper, and members of this House. I am back again as the first speaker, but here to summarize what all of us are in same purpose of. We do not regret dependency on foreign aid. We do not regret dependency on foreign aid because of the following reasons which we have given you. Because according to me and the rest of us, aid saves lives, and aid is used in crisis. It's also a key factor in helping us to sustain economic growth and other. It's also a key factor to help us in economic growth. Also, aid builds institutions and promotes good governance. That was according to the second speaker. Aid stabilizes economic in times of crisis, according to the second speaker also. Then the third speaker here said, foreign aid strengthens governance and regional cooperation. We are not denying that fact at all. The right response is not regret, but responsibility. Demanding effective, transparent, reform-focused, and while strengthening domestic revenue and institutions. Aid, widely used, is a bridge to independence, not a chain that together, this point which we have given you shows that Africa's relationship with aid is transformative, not regrettable. We urge you to reject this motion because of the following we have.
Okay, she used a total of 1 minute 53 seconds. Now, can we have our reply speaker from proposition? Your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Stage to take a firm position of my team on this motion. I and my team were able to speak on diverse points, such as how foreign aid can indeed create dependency and undermine economic self-sufficiency in several ways, such as such countries' growth, undermining sovereignty and territorial integrity, perpetuating a cycle of dependency, as such countries can no longer go outside the dependency that they get from those foreign countries. And now it also encourages immigration. We're also able to say that over-dependency of African economies on foreign aid will increase the debt burden on such countries, reducing their economic development. How will you tell me that dependence on African other foreign countries will not reduce the economic development of those countries who depend on it? This is because it leads to immigration, as citizens of African countries go to other developed countries in order to get those funds, in order to get resources. Instead of using the natural resources found within their country, they go out to look for other resources, and this reduces economic development. We're also able to say how it hinders growth. Those African countries who depend on foreign aid, it hinders their growth. This is because of the introduction of corruption and lack of investment in infrastructure, and how it also undermines their sovereignty and territorial integrity, and also their interests. Foreign trade also makes those countries to be independent of the other. They can no longer do things on their own because they have the 100% dependence on those foreign aids. And without those foreign aids, they have the mindset that they cannot do something without believing on those foreign aids. And now it perpetuates a cycle of dependency, as I earlier emphasized on, and this reduces the economic development of such countries. And with this point, I've been able to make the argument of tidal position baseless and Waterloo, and that is why we are proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay, that was 2 minutes on the dot, and that's the end of this session of debate. You all did well. You all argued very well and respectfully. So now we are going to hand over to the judges. We're going to give them some time to accumulate all the results and tell us who won this round. Thank you.
Okay, Silas, let's hear from you. But you have to be very brief, please. Try and do it within 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes, please. Silas, over to you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Let me assume I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So first of all, the motion was this House regrets over-dependence of African economies on foreign aid. First of all, we had Benue State as proposition team and then Kogi State as opposition team. So I think the both sides agreed that African countries are too aid dependent, like they are over dependent on each other. But the side proposition tells us that they are over dependent on like foreign aid. Then proposition tells us that they regret that in a situation whereby the African country heavily rely on foreign aid to survive and all that. Then UP tells us that they do not regret this, and then they feel that it's quite beneficial to African economy, taking note of like their survivor states and all of that. So we weighed the both side of the debate to know which side of the debate or which word leaves Africa better off. Like in which word are we better able to like see Africa in a better light? So proposition main case in today's debate shows us that the overdependence on foreign aid leads to like a lot of African countries depending on it and then forgetting their potential and then knowing that they can easily do these things, and then we now create that culture of over-dependence on them. Then secondly side, opposition in debate tells us that the bulk of their cases showed us that Africa in these states, it needs like this foreign aid to be able to survive. And then at the point in time whereby they don't have these things, that a lot of things is going to happen, where they talked about like palliative cares and all of that, and then how these things saves lives and human capital for individuals. Talked about like COVID-19 pandemic and all that. So I think the problem we had in debates is first of all, proposition talks about like how these things like make these African countries to be over-dependent. That means on the long term, we're not going to be getting like better innovations, better like economy and the status quo. That means like opposition has like a burden to prove how they better able to do that long-term benefit in their own end. That is what we failed to get from opposition. The opposition on their own end tells us that this like foreign aid like helps like make these African countries or African economy to survive. When we talk about like healthcare and all that's like this foreign economies giving like aid to these African countries, and at the end of the day, just like a survival mode for them. So they showed that. Then opposition on their own end tell them that if we consider the issue of survival mode and all of that, what we get from opposition side is the fact that this money are being embezzled and then diverted to other other things that is not the purpose that those money was sent. So at the end of the day, we don't get the benefits that opposition is advocating for, whereby we overdepend on this foreign aid for that kind of survivor they are approaching for. They also showed us like statistics of like countries that have been overdependent on foreign aid, and at the end of the day, they are still in that particular situation they find themselves. So at the end of the day, at the end of the debate, I feel like the kind of word, how I decided this motion is first of all, in which word are we better able to see Africa in a better light? Like, are we able to like protect the economy of Africa? Because this is like a policy as a like economy motion, right? So I feel like proposition side was able to prove how the long-term benefit like better able to solve issues even from what opposition is likely going to say, and then how this thing like make individuals to like promote the culture of dependence on them. Then opposition side tells us like the issue of survival mode, and then like how these countries cannot be able to survive without this foreign aid. Then proposition side tells them that the issue of survival mode is not even more effective because we have seen cases of like this money being embezzled and all of that. So at the end of the day, we don't get that benefit that we think opposition is giving today's debate. So at the end of the debate, I give it to Team Pro, that is Benue State.
Okay, let's hear from the judges from our own end to see what they come up with.
Thank you, Sal.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in
Thank you,
Silas,
for
for
your
your
very good analysis.
analysis.
As if you
As if you were with us,
the analysis, exactly what we observed. And in addition to that, I want to make notice of all the parts. Because we're online, doesn't mean we should carry booklets or notebooks. We're supposed to use palm pad, not notebooks. One of the things we're seeing clearly that what they were reading from, when I say notebook or palm card. So please take note of that, our contestants. Then secondly, the introduction. When you are starting, you're supposed to introduce yourself, then the distribution of the task, your various partners, and what they will talk about. Team Benue, take note of that. Also, when you make reference, you are citing examples. Make sure you have the fact, the date, the title of wherever reference you are making. You can't just tell us what you did so, no year, no name tag. It's not done that way. That type of reference is so big, might not be accepted. Then, when you are introducing yourself, when you come on stage, don't say, I stand on the existing protocol. You don't know whether the protocol was even there in the first place, or it was right or wrong. So, if the protocol was wrong, then you are standing on the wrong protocol. Don't do that. Please take note. Then on that, after those analysis, the two teams put up a very keen contest. And it's a very difficult decision we have to take. But at the end of the day, narrowly, what we call air split was what Benue used to overcome Kogi. So by this, unanimously, the winner is Benue State. Team Benue.